I went to an all-girl Catholic university, and he was a young adjunct professor that every one of my classmates wanted. Back then he recently graduated with his master's. He is really smart and was only 6 years older than me. I just turned 18 at the time and was on my first year. Back then I suspected his affection for me, but he wasn't inappropriate or creepy. I was the first girl he asked questions in class. I was the first girl he called when we all raise our hands to ask questions. I was the girl he sent to carry his books. I was the girl that always get leniency on my grades even when I get the wrong answer. He wasn't a tenured professor or looking for a career in education. He was lecturing while he worked with his friend on an internet startup. We have had platonic conversations, and he knows most basic things about me, like where I was from, about my mother and my birthday. On my birthday he bought me a new iPhone. I thought it was a big deal back then because that was when the iPhone came out. It must have cost him a small fortune then. I remember running back to my apartment and showing it to my best friend, and she couldn't believe it. She promises not to tell anyone, and it was our secret. He spent 2 years in the school and gave me a huge birthday gift in all of those years. Me and my mom were close. She was like my best friend. I didn't know my dad, and I didn't have a stepdad back then. So when my mom came to visit me in college, I even told her about him. My mom saw his picture and thought he was age appropriate for me, only 6 years older than me. My mom liked him. His apartment wasn't far from mine, so on Saturdays, I could go to his house and visit him, and my mom wouldn't say anything. All that while I was expecting him to say something to me, but he didn't. I was close to 19 then. When I was in my second year in college, he came to visit me when my friend traveled to her parent house that semester, and he brought a lot of groceries and gave me money. That very day I called my mom. I said, "Guess who came to visit me today?" I didn't finish my statement when my mother said, "Jeffrey?" I asked, "How did you know?" She answered, "It was the only answer that came to mind. This professor has to marry you by all means, looking at the way he likes you." Right there, my mom said what I'd been thinking all along. It gave me the confidence to pursue and open up to him. After he stopped working as a professor, he still came to my school often, I remember. But it was when I was on my second year that he proposed to me, and I said, "I've loved you for a very long time and I'm happy you finally said it, but please let's wait till I graduate from college." He wasn't pushy. He promises to wait for me to be ready. On weekends I will stay at his apartment. Sometimes I spent the weekend with him and sometimes I spent just a day. He didn't touch me. He treated me like a sacred garden. He needed special grace to tread on the grounds of such a garden. I was with him until I wrote my second year final exams. I thought something will happen. Actually, I asked for it. I said, "I'm 20 years old now. I'm old enough. All my friends did it long before they graduated high school. Why are you not doing anything to me?" He said, "I'm scared I will hurt you. You haven't done it before and that makes it difficult." Not long after he moved to the other side of town to be closer to his business, and we didn't see each other as often as we would have liked. On my third year in college, he was still with me. He came to visit one day, and he looked at me like he had never done before. He said, "You're such a beautiful woman. You are all grown up." I responded, "I've been beautiful since, but you've refused to see it." That day he got a hotel closer to our school. We spent the day there, and that was when he broke me. It was difficult. He wanted to stop, but I urged him on. He did it and it was successful. He asked me, "How do you feel now?" I answered, "It felt good." He came by often. He brought gifts and brought me money. I told my mom each time he visited. My mom took his number from me and called him often to say thank you. One day my mom asked me, "Be honest, hasn't he proposed to you yet?" I answered, "He has." She asked, "So what did you tell him?" I answered, "I told him I'm thinking about it." My mom screamed, "Fool. You're thinking about what again? Don't be silly. Tell him you like him too." I said in my head, "We've even eaten the meat and you're there crying over the bones." "Don't worry, I've handled him." I was in my fourth year in college when Jeffrey got married. I got shattered. I cried for weeks. I couldn't see how I was going to live without him. I called his phone several times and he didn't pick up. In tears, I called my mom and told her what had happened. She screamed, "Oh. How can he do this to us?" No, he didn't try at all. I wasn't with her, but I know my mom. She probably cried too. I heard from him 3 months later when the pain has subsided. My question was still the same, why did you do that? He said he was sorry, I was ready for marriage, but I didn't think you would be ready very soon. Please forgive me. I'm really sorry. I know I've hurt you, but please forgive me. My mom too called him, and he said the same thing. He said, it doesn't mean I'm leaving her behind. Whatever she needs, she can tell me. I will be there for her. So, we kept the conversation open and alive between us. He came to see me in school, and we went to that same hotel where he broke me. It happened again. I remember telling him, I trusted you were going to be the only man I would ever know, but look at us. He apologized, but we kept dating. That one, my mom wasn't aware. Immediately after I graduated, I got married to Patrick, a man I met on my first job. I married him to fill the hole Jeffrey left within me. I wanted to get rid of Jeffrey because I knew what I was doing with him was wrong. He also didn't know about my marriage until I sent him my wedding pictures. He said, tit for tat, right? I answered, I just had to do it. He said, that means the end of the road for us, right? I answered, it might be. We never spoke again though we had each other's contact. A year after marriage my husband lost his job. I was pregnant when that issue came. We were hoping things will change soon for him to get another job. I gave birth, celebrated the girl's 3rd birthday, but my husband was still unemployed. I saw his efforts, so I didn't blame him. I got pregnant again. I was 2 months pregnant when he got a job outside town. I remember the happiness we felt. He left and came to visit us only on weekends. I gave birth to a boy. Before the boy would celebrate his 1st birthday, my husband was laid off. He came back home and started looking for another opportunity. My boy was 2 years old when I got pregnant again. I remember telling him, pregnancy usually brings you luck. Let's hope this one does the same thing for you. I gave birth to a boy, and he was still in the house without a job. I was suffering. Everything was on me, rent, food, school fees, utilities. Just name them and I was paying them with my meager salary at a real estate company I work at. My 3rd child was 1 year old when he told me, it looks like I've become a burden on you. I will go home and live with my parents and continue looking for a job. That would lessen the burden for you. I've been living alone since, but the suffering hasn't stopped. I've tried looking for other opportunities, but because of the kids, I can't do so much. They always come between me and what I can do. One day I looked into the mirror and said, I'm still beautiful. If I give myself away to men, I can get money from them. In my place of work, I meet a lot of customers, so many men had come my way, but immediately I saw their intention. I wrote them off, but this time, I was ready to engage them. I started dressing to kill. I wore my makeup again. My work outfit was remodeled to call for attention. I started drawing eyes, but you know what, each time I got closer, my conscience would bite me, and I would stop. I've gone as close as being in someone else's bed, but fear gripped me, so I got up and ran away. Jeffrey is doing very well in life, he now has a thriving software business. I see him on my status on social media often, traveling places with his beautiful family. He's that guy who will post everything on his status, food, places, hotels, nice outdoor events, and more. One day I told myself, I've done it with him before, so it would be easier. Why don't I call him? I left him a WhatsApp message instead, Jeffrey, please call me, I need someone to talk to. He called and the first thing I said was, don't you need a side chick with 3 kids? He burst out laughing. I said, I'm serious, stop that. He said, you're still the same girl I once knew. I may have a need for you. But tell me what the problem is. I told him everything and ended with, it's all your fault. I'm the one you should have married, but see what you did to me. He asked me, how much is your salary? I answered, $2,500. He screamed, really? How do you do it? 3 kids living on this salary? Okay, no problem. Every month I will pay you $3,000, but you'll have to remind me else I will forget. I said, thank you so much, but what do I have to give to get that every month? He said, aren't you my girl? You don't have to worry. For the past 6 months, he sends me the money without fail. I haven't even seen him. My husband came home recently and read our messages. He's angry. He's accusing me of sleeping around just because he doesn't have a job. He has told everyone who will listen that I'm selling my body for money, all because he's unemployed. He has told his family. He called my parent to complain about it. My mom already knows the story, so she didn't say anything. My stepdad asked him, so what do you want her to do now? He responded, she should stop collecting that amount from that man. She should send him the message in my presence and stop everything. She's an embarrassment to the marriage institution. My dad asked me, are you going to do that? I answered, no, I won't until he gets a job and takes his rightful place as the man of the house. Currently, he's back living with me. He has taken my phone and refused to give it back to me. He said I should open it for him to talk to Jeffrey before he would give it back to me. I told him, never on this planet Earth would I do that, unless you kill me. You either believe me or you get a job. I want to know, am I doing the wrong thing here? Yes, my intention of reaching out to Jeffrey was bad, I agree, but it ended up yielding a positive result. Should I let all that go? Please help me.
This is an interesting story to react to because it's very controversial. Her husband is jobless and cannot provide for the family. And you can make an argument that she's not having sex with Jeffrey. So she's not having sex for that money, so it's free money. Then there's another opinion that what matters is the intention. For example, if Jeffrey rolls into town right now, she would be available. So you can say that the fact that she is available and the intention is that she would be available anytime Jeffrey rolls into town, then she's practically cheating. That's another opinion. This opens up a serious discussion about gender roles. Before we move forward, let's make something clear about their marriage. She does not love her husband. Remember in the story, she said that the only reason she married Patrick was to fill a hole left by Jeffrey. So you can automatically label her as an alpha widow. The definition of an alpha widow is a woman who holds attachment that is still fixated on the man who made the most impact in her life. And it's difficult for a man to develop loyalty from an alpha widow. On the traditional gender role, men are the providers. Although it's changing. Now we have more women working, women making as much as men are making. So both men and women are providing for the family. But primarily, men are the provider. And they take that job as a sole provider very seriously. But when a man is not capable of providing for the family, should he still be expected to be loved and have the loyalty of the woman? What happens when the gender roles are switched? If you follow some of the red pill stuff, you must have heard a principle that women are capable of showing unconditional love towards their own children, their pets, and even other women. But towards men, they are incapable. Of course, according to this theory, the only women that can love you unconditionally are your family members like your sister and your mother. I want to know what you guys think about that theory. So my final question for you listeners is, if you were the husband, what would you have done? I would like to know your opinion about this story. Please comment below.